Hello everybody. Today's video is going to be all done from the chair. Alright, so I have a band here. Just a normal hip band. This one's the extra heavy one. I don't know why I took the hardest one, but that's alright. And of course we got a couple of dumbbells down here and a band back there. Won't use that one today most likely, but we'll take these two since a lot of people have this kind of band or of course some kind of dumbbells. If you don't have dumbbells, you can use something else that you can grip in your hands to add as weight. Okay? Now, as you can tell, my hair is getting much longer, and sooner or later, I'm either going to be able to braid it, or I'm going to have to buzz it all off. One of the two. It's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens in this quarantine. So, first thing is, I'm going to take this band, I'm going to put it around my legs, on the lower part of my legs, just above my ankle. And I can sit back. I like to sit a little bit off the back of the chair, just feels a little more comfortable to me. I'm going to also bend my knees back, which is another good reason to be a little bit forward. So I can actually bend my leg back. And then I'm going to extend one leg. So I'm just going to do a quadricep, a leg extension, one-sided. Okay. Right. If I was here, that's not bad either. But of course, that's less range of motion, right? If I take that leg, that planted leg, back farther, now I can move the one that I'm actually moving through a range of motion, through a further range of motion, and get more resistance because now the distance is greater between both ankles, right? Both points. Now, next one I can do. So I can move it up just below my knee. And of course, an exercise that I love as well as a lot of ladies out there is going to be abduction, right? Abduction mainly for the hips, outside, backside of the hips. So I'm just going to bring them out and back together, right? My feet are off the ground in this case. You can slide them on the floor if you had something obviously more slippery. Okay? I can also just do one leg at a time. I can really just try to focus on one side. Get an idea of what I'm really contracting and what I'm actually doing. Okay. From there, I can actually leave it here. I could even move it over my knee. So let's say I want to do an abduction, but I move the band over my knee. Now it's closer to my pivot point, meaning basically that same resistance has been diminished. Okay. The lever arm is less. So now when I do this, it's actually easier, right? So if you put it below your knee, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, or I can't get a certain number of reps that I'm shooting for. Put it above the knee. All right. Now if I go back down below the knee, for here, now I can actually do my squat again. Now what this is going to give me is some proprioception, meaning it's going to make me basically feel if my knees are coming in or feel if they're pushing out against the band, against that resistance, right? So I get my hands out in front of me as a counterbalance and I can keep my knees wide, right? Because of course, remember, if they come in, that's not the best thing to do, right? Valgus. So we're just going to keep our knees in line with our toes, right? Big toe, little toe heels, the pressure in my foot, okay? I was doing that a little backwards with my counterbalance of the hands, wasn't I? So, next thing is I got a couple of dumbbells here. These are, it says 5, they're actually 50, so don't worry about that. What I'm going to do here is I can work in a 6-count cheerleader from Sabrina, one of our other trainers. So, what she likes to do, she does 8-count and everything too, but that's tough. So, I'm going to come out like a lateral raise. I'm going to come to the front, come in and out almost like a push, perpendicular push. Back out wide and down, right? So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Got to use my core. Obviously, got to use a whole lot of shoulders and back muscles to do this. Keeping my posture as well. Now from here, I can always do a curl, right? I'm just curling as I'm seated. Okay. Right now I'm doing a dual curl. Of course, I could do a single arm, right? Which we've already done these types of things. Now you're just doing them in this seated fashion, so it's a little bit safer for some individuals, okay? Now I can do a curl to press. Maybe I just want to save some time, right? So I'm going to curl and then up and press. Now you'll see that I'm actually almost doing like an Arnold press for the shoulder press part, right? So I curl up to my shoulder, and as I push, I kind of wrap them around my head, and I actually pronate. Right, as I come down, I supinate, which means palm up or kind of towards me, and then I come back down to my side, okay? All right, or I have time, I'm just gonna do shoulder press. Right, now I don't have to do it this way. It's like more like an Arnold press. You like this, twist them like this. Did them so much, they named it after him, obviously. But you don't have to do that, right? We talked about just a regular kind of shoulder press, whatever feels best for you. Right, another thing I can do is actually lean forward. taking my chest closer to my quads, right, or my knees, and I can actually do a back fly. So this would be more like a rear delt exercise. Now remember, if something's very easy for you, you can always throw a pause in there, right? You can do more of them. You can throw a pause in there at any part of the range of motion. It will make it more difficult. Now, of course, when I'm wider, that's the hardest part. If I stop and then I come back down, this is obviously resting. So if I'm pausing here, it's not the biggest deal, right? You can throw a pause there because you're going to lose some elastic energy, which is going to make the next rep a little bit harder, right? But most of the time, you want to pause and contracted, then come back down. Pause and contracted, come back down. Okay? Now, maybe I want to get some triceps. I can always just take one hand up and over my head. Now listen, I can lean against the back of the chair, right? I'm just going to extend my arm. My elbow is pointed pretty vertical. And then I'm just going to come behind my head. Of course, not to hit your head. You can always do a double, right? Where you kind of just make a big cross pattern of your hands, of your fingers, holding one part of the dumbbell in your palm, in your thumb area. And then I can do both at once. Right? It's a little bit harder position for me. I'm not the most flexible, especially my shoulders. Not the best. Right? I can always do a seesaw. So a seesaw is where I'm going to do one hand at a time shoulder press. So I come here and I just switch back and forth. And I can also throw a little core in there a little bit. I can get kind of a stretch out of it if I lean one side or another. All right, so we can add all those up. We can cycle through them, just make it a circuit and make it a pretty good routine, all from the seated position, where you're obviously less likely to hurt yourself. You do need a little bit of equipment, but not a lot. You probably can find some things around your house that will benefit you. All right, see you next time.